Hello, is anyone there?
I'm surprised to find that guy out there at the lake having actually read.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's at 5 minutes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some bucket. Yes, sir.
I can now. You're muted. Yeah. You're muted again.
I'm ready for a long meeting.
You know?
I just sprayed for bugs earlier today.
All right, well, I'm good. I've had my shots.
Yeah, we sprayed for bugs earlier, so.
For hydrophobia? How are you? Hey, how are you? Scott?
For 5 minutes.
You know?
We sprayed for bugs earlier today.
I'm good.
5:10, I'd like to open a special meeting for the Red Oak Industrial Development Corporation. As the record shows, we've complied with the Open Meetings Act, and we do have a quorum present. Number 2A, consider approval of the minutes for the City of Red Oak IDC special meetings held on March the 24th, 23, on April 17th, 2023.
And then we approve both of the minutes of those meetings.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. David, are you with us?
He disconnected.
All right, that's dead, 3-0. Item B, discussion and possible action concerning adoption of resolution number 23-005R, approving an individual product or project order number 06-4449261, IPO by and between the City of Red Oak Industrial Development Corporation and the Kimley Horn and Associates, Inc., and an expenditure of funds in an amount not to exceed $7,000 for engineering and design of a sanitary sewer line construction plan for Red Oak Public Restroom Project, and authorizing its president to execute all necessary documents on behalf of the IDC and providing an effective date. Discussion.
So, at the meeting where we approved moving forward with the Fitzgerald to do the project management, I think Jonathan mentioned this, we pulled the sewer design out of there because we didn't want to have them sub it out to somebody else and have to pay extra. So this is just coming back with a direct cost between IDC and Kimley Horn to design that.
Any more discussion? If not, do I hear a motion?
Move we approve resolution number 23-005R.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. Discussion and possible, items Charlie, C, discussion and possible action concerning adoption of resolution number 23-006R, approving an agreement with Enviro Dredge and expenditure of funds in the amount of $196,067.50 to dredge sediments at the northern end of the Red Oak Municipal Lake to catch the sediment spoils, dewater the spoils, legally dispose of the spoils, and cleaning of the site to a final desired condition, and authorizing its president to execute all necessary documents on behalf of the ROIDC and providing an effective date. Discussion?
So, on C and maybe D, I think what the plan is, we met on site with Enviro Dredge this afternoon, and went through some changes to the scope, and we think we can get more of the pond dredged for the same money by not hauling off the spoils, but drying in place and spreading on site at a later date. So I think I would suggest that we table C until we get the new pricing with the new contract. And then I think we do it, obviously, but I think we need to get that new scope and price.
So this one had taken it off somewhere else?
Yeah, the way he did it was to haul it off and dispose of it, but if we dispose of it on site, it'll be cheaper, and it'll allow us to go further up into the pond with the dredging and potentially take out some of there's a little curve where the land comes out, it's a marshy area, so we want to take that out and clean up the edges a little better. I don't know, did I explain that, Ben or Alan?
What it boils down to is they wanna
We're all there.
spend a whole bunch of money to haul the stuff somewhere else, which is legit, because they can't just put it anywhere. But, I do have a question related to Bob and Kyle. Kyle had said today that his understanding of it was that as long as it was tested and it had every metal or everything in it, that as long as it didn't leave the property, that it was okay. So before we, you know, go forward with these guys and this plan, we need to make certain that that's legally the case. But if it is,
Yeah,
They
so
will-
that's why it costs money to do the spoils, because they have to be tested. Only
so they said that their biggest,
removed if they stay in situate, then there's, the rules change.
they said that their biggest problem, Casey, was usually trying to do that, number one, is finding the property owner would allow them to, and number two, that they can never get the permits from the city. So we said, we think we can handle those two.
And did you gotta put the erosion control around it and update that?
No.
Why?
Not the way they'll do it here, so, and this is,
So where are we?
so the way this works is they bag it. So they're not going in with a bucket and scooping it out like this, like they did last time. And what happens is they have a actual dredge on chains or cables that actually dredges it
Huge back.
And pumps it.
and pumps it into a big, huge bag to where it dries and dewaters. Then we pull the top off the bag and we take the dry material and spread it to where we have low areas out there on the property. Throw some grass on.
And at that point, we're talking about probably good fine silt, right?
Mhm.
Generally, yeah.
Wait, what I'm gonna say with that is, depending on where we put it, it'll wash right back in, right?
Yeah. But, number one, what they'll do is probably do a line of hay bales or something to stop some of that. And number two, you know, we're working on getting development on the site anyway. So unless we wanna spend $100,000 to get a third as much of the pond done, this would be the case. You're right, some of it could come back, but what'll happen right at first is the water will drain through the bag, so the water is gonna come back, probably have a little bit in it, but, you know, not a lot. And then when this is all dried, I wasn't clear whether they were gonna move it or we were gonna move it.
No, we may.
So we could move it further up the property, or whatever, it doesn't have to be right on the hill right behind it. We can-
Further down the property.
Yeah, any way we wanna go.
Downstream. Whole line area.
We got 20 acres, we can take it further up the property or whatever,
Oh,
where it's really not gonna rotate.
well, the problem here in low lying area, though, that means it's probably in the floodplain, AKA, or in the flood.
No, we're talking about on the other side of that road to the west, all the way up.
But in a big rain,
They can pump it 1,000 feet.
in a big rain, that'll shoot right back down, right?
Good, but we would, like we said, we'll just plant Johnson grass all over it, you all right?
Well, what you do is you put up silt fence and so forth when you first put it out until you get grass and vegetation established on it,
On what you spread out.
on what you spread out.
And he also talked about prepping the area where they place the bag, so it's not gonna be on the sloped surface, it's gonna be flat, and maybe even somewhat, you know, lower in the center or something, so that it doesn't just.
Yeah, it is real fertile, it should
Mhm.
grow.
Yeah, you'll just have to, afterwards, when you spread it, you're gonna have to maybe put some sort of silt fencing or drainage control till all the vegetation's established.
Doing it the way it was originally bid here, we'd spend most of our money trucking it.
Hauling. And I'll go ahead and talk about D. So, we can either approve it tonight or wait, but I think what we don't wanna do is go out there and put the aerator fountains out there in the pond before we dredge it, because then all of the muck and so forth gets in the filters and everything else. So, I think we still need to do both. I think we need to wait until we get the new pricing on the dredging, and then wait on the fountains, aerators until we're complete.
The only question I was gonna ask about that, so we're lighting all three of them?
Mhm.
White light ours.
They're LED, so I think they're,
You can put multiple.
change colors, right?
Yeah, it's a color wheel, so you can change it to any color you can think of on the color spectrum.
So you can make it red, white, and blue on the 4th of July, or you can
Red
make
and
it,
green.
Yeah, I know, I agree. And I guess that's running off the same
Like it ran for the
meter
county.
that's going to the three pumps, I guess.
yeah.
I've got a little bit of information that we'll pass out again, but This is actually the 8 choices that we have on the,
I'm back.
David,
Yeah, I'm
back
here.
up.
I'm
All
here.
right.
We're on, item
Sorted D.
C,
C and D.
C and D.
C and D.
C and D, right.
So we can pick one of these, or?
well, I'm leaning towards a certain one that's on here, it's the Buckingham. It's a well contained. But what I don't wanna see happen is we get one of the fire mist, you know, like a full geyser or something. Those have a tendency to create a fine mist. And you get one of those windy days and you got people sitting on the patio at Cajun and they're gonna sit there and get soaking wet. And to the point to where we'll have to shut them off. You know, and I just wanna try to prevent that by doing something like the larger opening type of fountain sprays. That way we don't have fine mist coming off of them.
And this is 3 of them, right?
That's
Right.
correct. And they'd be triangulated in the deepest part of the pond.
Idea to do all 3 of them same.
Any reason why we need a fountain out there?
Couple. So one is, you know, just aesthetic purposes, we're trying to dress it up, make it look nice,
Oh.
we're trying to sell property in the park and so forth. But the other is we have now had to cancel the fishing event
Oh, my God.
2 weeks in a row because Texas Parks and Wildlife will not release the fish because the oxygen level is too low. And that's a combination of both some of the muck, but also there's no aeration into the pond.
And we had a big rain right before it,
Before the first one, yeah. But then the levels came back up, and then they plummeted again. So just as a side note, the fish probably won't be released until October or November.
You put catfish in there?
Little everything, bass, catfish, everything, isn't it?
They'll add a little bit here and there for, when they have, let's just say they've got a bunch of Florida bass that they're working on. When they have overages, they split them up and take them to the different ponds. We may not even be notified that they're releasing them, but since we're part of their program, they'll just come and release them. So when they get 20 or 30 of those, or when they do the catfish, we'll get 1,000 of those for a drop, you know, for an event like that, and they'll be coming in all 10 to 12 inches in length. Those we don't have to pay for since we're a member city with them. We do pay for trout, but we don't pay for the other game fish.
So,
David, we're considering dropping item C and D.
tabling.
Tabling. We're not gonna be proving it today or disproving it.
Well,
You could approve D
on D,
on the
I don't know
expense.
why, if we're gonna do it, we wouldn't go ahead with supply chain issues and all that, why
Yeah,
we
it's just
wouldn't go
work.
ahead and have that on the way. I don't-
Yeah, you could go ahead and approve D, but not do the actual work until
Right,
after
we
the
wouldn't
pond's
want to just
dressed.
turn them on while that was all going on,
Yeah.
but. So it's liable to take a good while to get them here anyway.
All right.
You wanna read D?
But we're still on C, so I'm assuming y'all want to table
Yeah,
C.
right.
Table C.
I don't think we have anything to vote on, see,
No, it's nothing to vote on, C.
Okay,
All right, item D. Discussion and possible action concerning adoption of resolution number 23007R, approving expenditure of funds in the amount of $62,309.94 for the addition of 3 commercial aeration and beautification fountains at the Red Oak Municipal Lake, and authorizing its president to execute all necessary documents on behalf of our IDC and providing an effective date. And just, you know, we pretty well talked this out.
yeah,
Anybody have any other additional,
well,
discussion?
who's gonna decide which one of these are different?
Well, I think we-
Or different of the 3, like you said.
I think we do that tonight. I think, I agree with Kyle on the issues with the spray and with some of the maintenance on some of them. I guess you could do different ones, but it makes maintenance more difficult because you got different parts and things to go on different fountains.
Kyle, I know you mentioned some of the nozzles were more expensive than others. Are these all
These are
included in that
these
price?
are all included in the price.
Yeah.
Like the lot you-
These are all the same price.
Yes, I mean, we could choose any one of them and it would be the same price included in the
Do
package.
these all have pretty much the same profile in terms of how they shoot or what they?
Well, and then especially add the fact that we're lighting these and we're gonna show them off at
Right.
night and
So it's, you know, I have a little prejudice towards the ones that are lit at nighttime here.
Right, just kind of downplays the ones that
Right
are.
here.
Well, the ones, Kyle, that you say are problematic, I know you mentioned the full geyser and the Fleur lease were problematic. Are there some others that are problematic like that?
The flare with the sky geyser, that's similar to the full geyser. That one's an issue, but all the other ones are fairly good. The Trellis, Majestic,
Yeah.
Buckingham, and those, I think the ones that are, those three are really my top three picks. Having done fountains before at other locations, like I say, getting into those sprays, it's a problem, and I think that Todd hit it right on the head. If we have similar fountains that have similar parts, when we go to maintenance and have issues with them, it's much easier for us to fix those rather than have to order 3 different types of fountain pieces and parts. And that way they're all interchangeable.
Okay, so we're gonna agree with getting 3 of the same?
So what is the height difference between the Trellis, Majestic, and Buckingham? In other words, is one of those gonna be a bigger spread or a taller spread, and you could put that in the center and then get 2 other ones to flank it? Like you put the Buckingham in the center and put the Majestics on either side of it?
Well, 'cause these are gonna be triangulated, there won't be a true
Okay.
center.
Well, then it doesn't matter.
And, you know, we could do one of each, and that would be fine. I'm just thinking selfishly for the future when
Right.
it comes to maintenance, and that's
Yeah.
pretty much the reasoning behind it.
Are y'all okay with 3 Buckingham?
Yep.
Well, we're spending a bunch of
Yes.
money, as we're making this pretty. It would look kinda cool, if we had all 3. And especially since we're lighting them at night. Now, if we weren't lighting them, then it wouldn't matter, but if we're lighting them at night, this is what everybody's gonna see from 35, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, I'd almost argue that if you did Buckingham, Majestic, or maybe 2 Buckinghams, or just, I don't know. I get the part, but this would be a good chance to, what do you think?
Are all 3 gonna be lit or just one?
All 3 are gonna be lit, and I guess you can't see what we're looking at, but we're basically talking about the spray design, and they're gonna be lit up with different colors apparently too, so we're spending money on that. So, do we have the same spray design for all 3, or we kinda change it up between the 3?
I'm
I
okay with
think-
the 2 and 1
for-
kind of like that. Go ahead.
For maintenance purposes, keeping them all 3 the same would make sense for the long term.
That's where I'm at myself.
I'm fine, it would be kinda cool to have a different design.
So are we now just looking at Trellis, Majestic, and Buckingham?
Yeah.
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 All right. So, me, I like Trellis. But, I'll probably order something different at dinner than y'all would, so it really doesn't matter, whatever y'all.
The beauty of all 3 is it helps everybody can have their own favorite.
Well,
No, that's true, I don't think,
That's true.
it's really pin it down.
What's the height, the middle column, I can't read what's in the blue.
The middle column is
That
height,
is the height.
What's the right column?
the diameter.
I see.
So how many how many horsepower are we getting?
5 horsepower.
Okay, so it's the bottom numbers, the bottom row.
So it is the bigger motor, and it is the average, each one of them is gonna be slightly different, but they say the average gallons per minute is 450 to 500 gallons per minute with these type of pumps. So they're putting some water out there. They're doing some shows. So what I'm seeing here on the height difference is pretty high and substantial.
Trellis is 22 with a diameter of 26 at 5 horsepower. Majestic is 30 feet high with a 40 foot diameter, that's his diameter, I guess. 5 horsepower. And Buckingham is 28 and 59 in diameter. So really the choice is taller and a little tighter or lower. Buckingham is gonna be 28 foot by 59, which is a lot different than Majestic, which is 30 foot by 40. Me, the trellis, now that I look at it, is only 22 by 26, so that's the smallest of the group.
If we were gonna be in a straight line, I think you might put the taller one and then 2 shorter ones, but they're not in a straight line, so.
Let's go with 3, me and the Buckingham.
You can put them in a straight line. Put them where we want, right?
Well, no.
You're trying to, at the same time, you're trying to aerate the pond, so,
Right.
yeah, you'll have wherever it goes
Yeah.
related to aeration.
And then I visited with Parks and Wildlife about these two, about using these for aeration, and they recommend putting them in a triangular form in the deepest part of the pond. In other words, like, we've got some pretty good depth out there, and we could definitely get out of the way. I heard the concern earlier that we don't want anybody fishing to be able to throw their line out there and get tangled up in it, and that's always a possibility with people doing that, is you could definitely get hung up in them. So getting them out there and getting them into the depth, I think would be the best, and it would create a pocket of safe haven for those fish. If the pond did turn over, they would have that instant air out there, and that's what they would instantly move to.
Let me ask you a question. How about the volume of water coming out of each one of these?
About
That's
the same.
all the same, or
Roughly the same, very close, in between 450 and 500 gallons per minute.
regardless of which one you've got on?
Correct.
So other than the parts, which I understand that part, I just think it'd be cool to have, especially since if you weren't lighting it, then fine, but since you're lighting them with different colors, you know, I think the different displays just might look better.
Yeah, I think the fish will like it.
Only thing,
Ducks will like it too.
there is, like, the Buckingham at 5 horsepower is 28 tall and 59, which seems to me like it's gonna be just a lot of spray, a lot of direction, as opposed to maybe the Majestic that's 30 by 40, and appears to be a little more clearly defined. We're going by a 1 by 3/4 inch picture, so trail footing it. I think I'd be with Majestic, but I'd also vote for what anybody else wants to do
Why
about
don't we
it.
just go for the
We come from 8
staff?
down to maybe 2, so.
Which one did you recommend, Cal?
Buckingham.
The Buckingham.
All right, let's see.
But if y'all want one of all three, I'm good with that too. Honestly, I'd take them. I'm just so glad to have the opportunity to be here with these.
I say we come this far, man. Show it off.
Well, you won't let it go.
Look how much we're spending on this. You might as well make it nice, I think.
2 Buckinghams and Majestic,
It's not like it's not visual, this is literally off of 35.
and an order of fries.
Yes. Or, yeah, or 2 Buckinghams and a Majestic, I don't care. We could do it, I'm just saying it would look good.
Summer, what do you think?
Oh, no, don't drag me into this.
The only thing I was thinking is, since, like with the color arrangement, like if you have red, white, and blue, it would kind of aesthetically be pleasing if they were all the same. The same thing with Christmas colors, you know, the green, red.
And what's the third color?
I was going with white or blue.
Frost blue.
Do they have all those? I mean,
That's where we have all the
It's a
problems.
color wheel where it can actually do multiples,
You can only do
so it can
all day
combine
three
2 colors to create like a
Some-
maroon if we wanted to.
Somebody make a motion. I think whoever makes a motion, I'm thinking everybody's gonna vote for it.
Let's put in, 3 Majestic.
What now?
3
3
Majestic.
Majestic.
Motion to
Or at
approve.
least
the
somebody
3
argue
Majestic.
it.
3
Somebody
Majestic,
make
I don't
an
like
argument for
Majestic.
something else.
I don't like Majestic whatsoever.
Well, would you care to propose,
I'll second.
would you care to propose something?
Motion's been made and seconded to approve resolution number 23007R, utilizing all three and the Majestic fountain. All in favor? Do I have that is a motion. Do I have a motion?
And I seconded.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, this is David.
Aye. What the hell?
Pulled it up like a cheap lawn chair, didn't it?
You're gonna drive by that every day. Could've gone this way.
That is an ugly one.
You wanna reopen this?
Well, it's still perspective too, since it's triangulated. I mean,
Yeah, I know.
depending on where you are,
Right.
what you see.
Right.
So you,
I don't know. I do not wanna hear from now on, every time we're like over there eating at the.
Oh, no, you're gonna be
I don't
stuck
wanna hear
with,
every
it's
time.
your fountain.
That is your fountain.
We could've had Buckingham.
That's the
We could have
Alan Beasley
That's what I'm saying.
I bet you a year from now they won't remember.
Oh, my God, yes, we will.
That'll be as bad as the tree incident.
Yeah.
All right. Item E, discussion and possible action concerning adoption of resolution number 23-008R, approving the expenditure of funds in the amount of $10,550 to add a 4-foot wide concrete sidewalk with a small crossover bridge for playground at Live Oak Street, and authorizing its president to execute all necessary documents on behalf of the CRO IDC and providing an effective date. Any discussion on this? Any illustrations, elucidation?
Yeah, I'd just like to understand where it is we're putting it on.
Lee, can you
Kyle, you want?
Can you put that on the screen?
Can you go to page 49, please?
The area we're talking about is adjacent to this building over in the east parking lot. There is an opportunity to get folks straight into the playground instead of having them, walk along the edge of the roadway, which is typically what they've been
The
doing.
playground by the ball?
Between the
The
ball.
new one by the ball?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I didn't even understand where.
We've had quite a few users coming in to use it, and they're finding that rather than walking around to the sidewalk, that it's easier to walk down the middle of the street, and may end up causing a safety hazard in the future.
What is the,
The green is the playground, that's the layout of the playground. The white is the existing walkway that's in the park,
okay,
and then the yellow will be the new 4-foot pathway that will get you straight from the parking lot straight to the playground entrance.
Okay. And if you see those red hashes on the yellow line, that's where the drainage flume is, so included in the crossing.
Yeah, we had to use ADA handrails in there in order to keep from, people being able to fall off the side when they cross over the drainway there.
alright.
Is there a
To
reason
get
why
to
we're
the
just,
Tower of Death playground.
or is there a reason why we're running up?
Don't fall off here, you're gonna fall off.
Parking lot
Over there, it really
Going
lit
straight
up right.
there.
That exit area right there is where there is no parking along that edge there. But everybody that's coming they park in the parking lot, and then they wanna get the straightest and quickest line to the playground. And so rather than going to the west where that walkway exists to the west, they're going down the middle of the street and walking to it.
No, I'm not, it's the dumb question.
There's a fence around
No,
it,
it's not.
right?
It's
Right
a-
around the playground though,
Is
right?
there something right there, so we can't just tie it there?
Yeah, there's a curb there, and we didn't want to cut the curb. We just kind of wanted to go right around it and then parallel it.
Oh, no. Need a motion?
Any other discussion on this? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move we approve resolution number 23-008R.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
David seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. David?
Aye.
Passes 4-0. Item F, discussion and possible action concerning adoption of resolution number 23-009R, approving expenditure of funds in the amount of $260,906 to add a netting system to the outfield fence to extend the playing distances for Field 1 of the Live Oak Baseball Softball Complex, and authorizing its president to execute all necessary documents on behalf of the IDC and providing an effective date. Explanation.
So this one kind of comes from staff and different associations, but also from council. So the big field out there, is not big enough for high school. So you can play up to like 13, 14U, but when you get beyond that, it's pretty much unusable. I mean, we even tried to use it for Fox's baseball team, and it's just home run after home run after home run. So the high school teams won't use it, and we've just got it sitting out there most of the time with the temporary fence out there for the younger kids. So originally we started looking at what would it take to extend it out and make it a bigger playing field. And Kyle came back in the council, I think it was just a discussion item, either discussion or report item. And it was like almost $900,000. And the council said, oh, no. We don't need to do that. We can go build another field before we do that. So we came back and found this netting system that would play like a bigger field. And took that back and showed the council we can do this for a third of the cost. I said, well, oh, that's good. So let's look at that and pursue that and see if we can get funding for it. So what we've got is, 20-foot fencing at the corners, which makes it play like 330 feet at the corners. And then, 40 or 50? 50 foot at center field that makes it play 360 or 365?
360.
So that will take some of your outfield play out of the picture, but if there's no outfield out there because they're not playing because the field's too small, then you already have your outfield play out of the picture. So this would allow us to have high school games that we currently can't have out there. And Kyle's talked to Red Oak high school coach over here, which they won't play now, but they would play if we did this as an option. You would have, several high school teams from the area that don't have turf fields that would be able to utilize this on rain-out dates and for playoff games and stuff like that where you don't want to have a rain-out date. It's not the perfect situation. Everybody knows that, but it is the best we can do with what we have. So that's kind of what we're looking at now is, do we want to pursue this and make it so that we can get more use out of it? Or do we just want to say, okay, we're just not going to use it to the best of its ability?
Why are high school so important?
Well, number one is they always are calling games for rain because they can't play, unless it's a quick shower or that kind of thing. But you have that whole different demographic coming in to the city to be able to have different playoff games or small tournaments and stuff like that you're not going to have right now. Right now, we get a whole lot of tournaments for the little kids, but you have nothing for high school, over 13, 14 years old.
Any other questions?
Yeah. and this is really a little more general and not intended to put you on the spot, but if I had been on time, I would have asked it at the beginning of this whole agenda.
I can't hardly hear you.
I said I would have asked this at the beginning of the agenda if I had been on time. And it's general, but, you know, this agenda has us, have we passed everything, had us spending over $600,000. And we're spending it on stuff that is just spending it, pretty much.
About half of it here.
Well, but, so, I wanna make sure that I understand where we are financially. before-
14.3.
Okay. And what do we expect coming beyond that? Because that sounds like a lot till we decide we wanna go buy 300 acres.
Well, that's just a question. I don't know that we have a whole lot more parks projects coming behind this until we get maybe to something, you know, a much bigger type project.
The infrastructure for the 580 acres or 50 acres is gonna be.
Yeah, we'll have a lot of infrastructure over there, except that may be shared cost with the end user.
Now, we do have the construction costs for the restroom
Yeah,
in Pearson,
yeah.
and that will be,
What was it, for?
we don't know,
500?
That's what we just approved the engineering for it.
Right.
for the sewer
Right.
piece.
Right.
We just got the architectural this week, and so we're hoping that we get the actual bid back from the, GC soon, now that we have the structurals in the full drawings and everything. So I would feel better saying 500,000 for that restroom, based on the extra things we're doing, like the extra roof to match the municipal center and, you know, that kind of finish out that we're doing there. So that is something that would be coming.
That's out here?
Pearson.
Pearson.
Which then leads, we're probably looking, are we still looking at that splash pad over there? I mean, another, you know,
We don't have.
once you put a bathroom there, you might as well add things that would, well, I know we have people out there anyway, and the nice new park with the fountains, but, or the, like with the new fountains, but, yeah, I mean, I don't wanna cut Alan off, but part of what I'm gonna go into is once you built your bathroom, there's your spot. Once you've built your parking lot, there's your spot, you know, get everything you can conceivably around that area. Which I know is right
If
here.
you're gonna have a splash pad, that's a perfect
Right.
place to have a splash
Yeah,
pad.
and we have some ideas, but, you know, we're not there yet on this line.
Recycling it.
Where are we on when we got a right check to Rocket?
For the settlement?
Yeah, for the Google farm.
Yeah.
We're still a little ways out, but that will actually, Google will actually pay that. Not for that, but Google is going to have some,
They're gonna cover it when
New
we got paid
development
when the meter
agreements.
sets?
yeah, but they're not gonna pay for that.
I
They're
don't
gonna
understand.
pay for some other infrastructure that we can use for that.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion on this item?
So when we have an inch of rain, even currently, I know over here, it's turf in the outfield, but infield's dirt, right? Or what is it?
Salter.
But it's,
No.
what is that?
We originally talked about doing that.
But
Turf on the infield.
It's just a different color turf.
Yeah.
So it just runs all off.
Yeah, it all drains.
Yeah, there won't be any rain. But yeah, as I kinda told you, I just see this as gimmicky. I understand the idea, but I think most of the high school teams, sure, if they're, you know, and again, Red Oak High School baseball getting in more rain-out games is gonna rank really low on my urgent need list. I would rather see this money go into something in the future, and when we look at a new spot, a full actual field is, and I know it's gonna be a whole lot more than this, but this seems like a Band-Aid. I understand why, but I think in the bottom line is we wanna look at a new place, and I'd wanna see maybe then look at a full field and do it you know, just go out and do a whole
How much
full
full field
field.
cost? Basically, they're not gonna use it.
About $2 million.
Basically, they're not gonna use it unless they're rained out some other place, right?
That, or unless they have a game that they want to schedule that they know that they're not going to get rained out.
So I'm something like Casey, it's sort of a, you know, it's a,
Are they paying us for that?
Yeah, when they have a rental.
But it's, the fees.
$125 per game.
There you go.
Bless you.
It won't pay off.
The 125 won't pay, but if you have the people coming into town
Right, I agree,
spending money.
but I think the bigger tournaments and stuff will look at this as gimmicky, and I just don't know that they would come here. I really don't. I mean, I could see maybe a rain-out game here or there, but like a whole tournament saying, we're gonna go play here with the goofy outfield, I don't know that they'll do that unless they just don't have other options. Do.
sort of a wish list type thing, I think. And I agree with you that we're spending a lot of money on, you know,
Well, no, it's not exactly what I was saying. I just want to make sure, because
what we're doing.
you know, that we're holding the money that we need for the projects we got that are coming, because they're a big number of projects. But I don't have a problem with this. I don't have a problem with spending the money on the netting. If there's
Legitimate reason to do that, you know, it's gonna get enough more use because we do it, and fine, we built a field out there, it ought to be used for something.
David, what do you think? David?
I haven't seen the field, so, I mean, I think extending it, allowing the high school teams to use it would be great. We'll get more use out of it. A Band-Aid, they were built to be used. If this helps the use increase, then yeah, I'm all for it. I think we should do it.
All right.
Will this slow us down if we do just say, well, if we wanna do this right, let's just build a field that's right?
Well, I don't think we can do it there.
No, I understand we can't do it right there.
We'd have to
We're not
find-
gonna be able to do everything we want just with the space that we had right here in the long run. And when we did a good job of taking what was here and making something out of it, and it's gonna hold us for a while, but in the long run, it's not be all end all.
Yeah. Let's see.
So,
Any other discussion on this? Not, do I hear a motion for a resolution number 23009R?
all right, I move we approve.
Do I hear a second? David, you wanna second it?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Passes 3-1.
I haven't voted yet.
All opposed.
I oppose. Preempt my vote.
Oh, God. Item G, discussion and possible action concerning adoption of resolution number 23-010R, approving an expenditure of funds in amount of $76,500 for professional services by Kimley Harm to complete a master plan for the City of Red Oaks Bear Creek Park, which will include a conceptual plan for a police and fire training center to be located on the same site as a park, and authorizing its president to execute all necessary documents on behalf of CRO IDC and providing an effective date. Explanations.
So this one is another one that kind of came through council's strategic planning workshops, and I guess the champion, El Presidente, was pressing for it, but we've got the parkland out there, but we don't have a plan on what to do with the parkland out there. So this is kind of the culmination of, okay, what do we need to put together? We gotta have a plan on what's gonna be out there. It's not gonna be the design, engineering, and all that good stuff, but it'll be the conceptual plan where they come in, they look at the, Parks Master Plan that was done with the Comprehensive Plan Committee and try to utilize that as a foundation for what types of uses will be out in this 70 acres. And it allows us to, you know, if we have multiple uses out there, we can use that for grant funding and so forth, which is only gonna be $500,000 at most, but it's something. So anyway, this is just the first step in trying to figure out what are we gonna do out there.
Anything additional to that, Kyle?
Well, with this as well, you know, we're looking at everything holistically, including, you know, how do we work in a public safety center out there for training or whatnot for our police and fire, how we can coexist and how that works into that. Kimley Horn has specialists, which they will have, that do those type of designs, that will actually work on this with the landscape architect who's gonna do the park portion in order to make sure that they all can fit in harmony in the park and how that would work.
Any other discussion?
Hey, this is really good, but are they gonna, no, we're not gonna get too detailed, but they could kinda give options for areas, you know, things like that, so.
Right.
We're not saying this has to go here, this, but if you did this, here's where you put it, and.
Here's where the pond or lake
Right.
goes.
Right.
Here's where,
Here's,
Where the trail would go.
yeah, here's where the trail, if you
Exactly.
wanted to do an amphitheater, here's where it would go, if you wanted to do the public's, you know, safety.
It doesn't commit us to anything, but it gives us a really good idea of what would fit in that location.
Right.
And at that point, then we could either break it, phase it, or, you know, determine how we wanted to move forward for the design. You know, maybe we do a full-on design for the place, and then we break it from there and come back and say, okay, this is what we think we can afford and what the community's calling for, so this is the portion in which we need to do.
Yeah, this is good, this will give us instead of just talking about the park out to the 70 acres, it kinda gives us a blueprint, even the council to now be more specific, here's kinda what you're talking about in specifics, and, yeah, obviously you gotta start with the blueprint, you know, just the 70 acres.
Yep. David, you have any comments?
No, it's good. I'm good with it.
Okay. I rarely get off into an argument that I know I'm gonna lose. But I know, I feel strong about this one, and I'm gonna make the argument. I'm not sure where to start.
I just did one, you can do it.
Well, I am. Don't specifically take issue with some master planning, but I very specifically take issue with starting to just piecemeal things and use the property just because it's land. As this place grows, and the way we're growing now, there's not gonna be any open land, and we're not gonna have options in the city. Every large open piece of land right now that has any service to it, somebody's looking at for data center, or somebody's already looking at for subdivision. Am I anywhere close to right on that, Casey?
Yes.
That's gonna be true anywhere around here. And it's true all the way out as far east as we go now, and now it's going to the southeast. The only place that we have in control a large space that can be for the future and really be some kind of signature installation of some sort is this 70 acres. It's a unique piece of land. It has the creek through there that is remarkable. It has the hardwoods on it and stuff that's still there, and it has open play space where we could still do things like we talked about doing with that space in the first place. I mean, the planning that we did on it then may have been aggressive, but we already have a $16 million park out there if we could have passed the bond to do it. And I understand that didn't pass, and I understand why. But as our coffers are, we're sitting here going, what do we have? Oh, we got $14 million. You know what? We are going to, and this is on the front end of the payoff on all the things that are coming in here. right now, when Lee and I, met in Dallas last week with the guys from, Compass, they said, you understand that this is the biggest project we've done anywhere. That when we're done with this, we're gonna have $3.5 billion on the ground, and that's nothing compared to what these companies are gonna put into the buildings. Their concern is it's not even a big cost, the $3.5 billion. Google's gonna have $2.5 billion or something like that sitting there when they're done here in 5 or 6 years. That's 6 right there. And that amount of acreage is not that big compared to all the other places that are talking to us right now about data centers. We're gonna have $10–15 billion on the ground. And all of this, we're gonna have the sales tax coming in from all the turnover, from everything that's going into all that. We're gonna have money to do things with. And we're gonna need a place to do it unless we've sold it all to those same data centers and filled it up with houses, and we no longer have the ability to go out and just create a space to do this with. It's kind of the one place that we can hold on to and do something remarkable when we finally have the ability to do something remarkable. We've done surprising things to date with being able to just come in and look at this facility. Look at what we've done with the ball fields and all that, and what's been paying for that is the whole data center thing, and we're on the front end of that, not the back end. There's going to be money. Sometimes, it's don't just sit there and do something. But you have to be careful because sometimes it's don't just do something, sit there. And that's where I think we are with this particular piece of property. I am fully supportive that we probably need training space for police. We need training space for fire. Those functions need to be done. But why do they need to be done on that one piece of land where we could finally do something remarkable in the long run? So, I'm not wanting to work against or argue against council, and I know you're fully behind it, and I'm not trying to get in the way of that. But I'm going to tell you how I feel about this. I mean, I still have a pretty strong attachment to the plans that we tried to make out there. Now, it may not be that we need as much ball space and all that out there as we did, but what we're just sitting here talking about is we did everything we could with this space, but it's still not going, it's already not serving us. We're having to put things together to make it work. In the long run, we have the money. We very well may want to go out there and do pretty close to exactly what we intended to do in the first place and not have to ask a bond to do it. And I know, and Todd's position on it is that's really far out there. Well, there's not going to be any land. They're not going to create any new stuff that's closer in here. Anything we do in the long run is going to be out there somewhere.
What's the first step, though?
Well,
Developing this thing or getting an idea.
Well, I understand it's like, having money in your pocket and itching to spend it. Kind of what that land out there is like. I feel like that's also kind of what we got protected from. I certainly don't feel like acreage out there is the space to put police fire. I'm fully behind us going and finding space to put police fire kind of thing. But once you start piecemealing this out into those other services and uses, you can't get it back. And the more we cut that up and do things with it, the less likely we are to be able to want to go out there and do something big. That's how I feel about it. That's how I see it. And so, if we're going to do some master planning, then okay. But I sure want to be careful what that master plan says. Some of it needs to be like, maybe just us right here don't have to be the smartest people forever. And there's going to be some people come along when there's some money to go with it, to put it with that space and really do something. I don't see where else we can do it.
I don't disagree with you about fire and police out there. I think you could put them several places. But we got to start somewhere. And this thing, we bought this property in 9 or 10, I forgot, it was the last time I was on the council. And, God, it's been, 13, 14 years, and we've been sitting out there saying what we're going to do with it. And I agree with you. This is a really tremendous piece of property. But we ought to develop some ideas on where we want to go with it. If we don't like police or fire out there, we ought to say so and let them go down by the cemetery or someplace. No, but we need, I think, to get a concept of what we wanna do eventually. About you, Case?
Yeah, it's almost like you're arguing the same point, but in a different way. I think that's exactly why we wanna do that. I want this to be
Yeah.
special. I want this to be unique. This will be our showcase, whatever it is, park area. And I don't see us spending this money just because we have it. I see us spending this money because exactly what you said, when it
Yeah.
does come in, then we're ready to go.
Yeah.
All right, we already did it. Now we can execute on building the park. But I 100% agree with you. My idea behind this is to make it special.
Yeah.
And I'm not picking police, fire, or any of the specifics.
No, like I said,
I think that'll
completely
boil down to
behind him
council.
needing, having the facilities that they
Yeah.
need. I don't want that to become the spot. As it becomes harder to find places to put things, I don't want that to become the spot where we're going, well, we could put it out there. We don't really have anything going on out there yet. We put it out there. We put this out there.
Well, I don't think that was the intent of the study. I mean, if you want to get specific in the police fire and all that, that kind of comes maybe because of that. But
Yeah.
I think the intent of the study is to go, let's see how we can make it unique and exceptional, so that when the money does come in, we're ready to roll.
Yeah. Because
Or
at the end of the day, we've all done a lot of work for a really long time now to make this place turn out to be something special. And we're in the middle of that part where the financial things we're doing are remarkable, quite frankly. Cities don't. The value on the ground in Red Oak is gonna go through the roof compared to other parts of the county. We're making that part happen, but at the end of the day, there needs to be something that we do,
So,
that is.
Yeah.
so your point is, because we'll both agree 100%, 70 acres that we own right now is hard to get. And we're good, if we didn't have this, good luck go find it somewhere else.
Right.
So, that's unique. You're saying, let's hold off on initial plans until,
Well, no, this is not just initial plans. That's not what this says. This says we're doing initial planning, but it also already includes a couple of things I'm talking about exactly, or the direction that I don't want to see us go.
that'll come down to council, right? I mean,
I'm not trying to.
yeah, us and council.
Well, no, it comes down to council.
Yeah, eventually.
Eventually, it comes.
Yeah,
Well,
that's fine.
Specifics.
Either of, so here's the thing, council's just asking y'all to fund the plan. Council may wanna do the plan whether you fund it or not, I can't answer that. But that was their direction, was go put together a plan to put police and fire out here with the park stuff.
So
And,
we're arguing with council, then.
yeah, and I can't tell, they may go along with you if they hear your argument. They may be perfectly agreeable with you. I just know that at this point, we're told to go out here and do
Well,
this.
I want everyone to recall that I started this by saying, I rarely begin an argument that I figure I'm gonna lose. But,
That's where I go back,
if I lose this one, I lose it, but I'm not gonna
argument.
not make it.
I agree with you on
I
that,
agree
Casey.
with
I
your
agree with your
argument.
argument, but we gotta start someplace, sometime, get the
But
I
concept.
don't like starting with exactly where I don't wanna go.
What do you wanna do, put it off another 5 or 6 years?
No, I wanna do the planning. I don't necessarily wanna see the planning.
You don't like the
police,
components.
fire. I don't wanna use
You don't like
space
the
out there.
I think
I would
that
rather
comes-
see us go buy other land for police and fire to be on than to take up that space out there.
He is right, though,
Yeah.
if you tell them where we put the police fire, they'll tell you where the police fire goes. That doesn't mean that that is the place for police fire. There is some cart before the horse that goes on with that, but.
Is that to be
In
decided, though?
In the end, if you wanted to put ball fields out there, decided that you were gonna do a bigger deal and you wanna put ball fields out there, that flat space up there going over the church is where you have to do it.
Right.
You can't put them really back there where we were gonna put soccer, and you can't put them on the other place. So police fire here would come right out of what we could actually do and how many fields we could put if we decided.
Kyle, would those be components that they would look at? I mean, again, we don't know what we're putting. If you wanted to put baseball fields, here's where you put them, here's your parking, here's.
If you have a-
They would look at that, and I I gotta say, what I'm hearing is absolutely the truth. The flat spot would take out most of our ability to do any groupings of ball fields.
So we're all fighting over the
It would
same.
be onesie twosies is how they'd end up being fitted in, and I mean, I'm not against our police and fire, and I want them to have the best training facility they can possibly have. I'm selfish, I don't wanna share because this is the most unique piece of property I've ever got to deal with in all my years of working in parks. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you haven't been to the back of the property, you haven't been through the middle, to the spring walls and everything else that go on that property, it is truly a gem that is, we're never gonna get another one of these ever. And I think that making it something, from what I just heard, spectacular, just kind of makes my hair stand up on my arms, because that's exactly what that property should be at some point, is something that people go, wow. You know, they wanna come back to Red Oak to go to that particular location because it's got the unique features to it already that we could showcase in many different ways to make it even more outstanding than it already is.
A fire training center, correct me if I'm wrong, is usually a bunch of burnout areas. I mean, what's it got at A&M?
That's not what,
They're talking about structures and stuff.
right, so the one that's been looked at, and I mean, you know, this is all preliminary and council hasn't seen any of this yet, is, Connex boxes that are configured in a different way, so they have different types of training avenues. So they get some height, they get some, you know, smoke rooms and different things like that. But they're well done, so they don't look like they just pulled them off a freighter, you know? And then there'd be an EVOC pad so they could do their emergency vehicle training. And then police would like to, at some time, explore a gun range, outdoor gun range. And then the thought was that there would also be a building connecting the two where they could have classroom type training, restrooms, that sort of thing. So, it's, you know, they've got ideas of what they would like to see, what would work, and the footprint is not that big, but to the point, it would eat up some of that space. So that's definitely something you have to consider.
So maybe, we're burning money, expand it to two possibilities. The pretty park, the beautiful pretty park, or the pretty park with the training facility.
Well, yeah, I mean, we can do anything with this.
Yeah.
I mean, we can direct the consultants to do whatever we want them
I
to
guess
do.
what I'm saying is leave the option in there that council wants, but also maybe do an option of what we're talking about over here.
And Kyle and I met several times about this, and so one of the things that I really liked that I heard was that they feel the exact same way that you're describing about that property, about the features, about highlighting the features, doing some things that we don't do anywhere else in town.
Would make us unique.
Right,
Yeah.
right, kind of like a River Legacy
Right.
type deal. So they have a very similar vision as you do when they see that piece of property, when they see the, you know, the components. So, you know, I mean, one option would be, you know, we could go back to them and, you know, you could get option A and option B.
Right, yeah, that's kind of where I was going with that, is what y'all are talking about and then what they're talking about.
Well, we've also got 550 acres off of Louis Ritter down there. If you really want a police and fire center, you could drop it in there.
At the
You're
end
talking
of
about
the day,
30, 40
you know,
acres.
start letting, at the end of the day, if council wants to see both versions, we could show them both versions. But I think you would want to see both versions, and that's probably what Alan's saying, at the very least, right?
Yeah, well, what I'm saying, if I'm speaking directly, is that I'd be, willing, even interested in us looking at where else there's land where we could put police, that kind of thing, that wouldn't be on that particular piece of property.
Right.
I mean,
Well, we can't legally,
It's gotta be in the city.
because it's not, economic development or parks purpose.
well, that was part of the question about IDC in the first place, but I guess council.
Well, IDC's not going to be building it, that would be a general fund
Council,
So it
bill.
has to be on park space?
if it's,
For you to authorize the work
For
to
you-
be done from a planning document
for you to go buy another piece of property and say, here, put the police and fire there, you can't do that.
Couldn't be on any part of something that we own.
Why couldn't you?
You could,
The city can do that.
Sure they can.
The IDC, or the IDC can't do that, 'cause
We
it
have the
doesn't
money.
fit. Even though you have the money, it's not within your,
it's not within the statutory allowance.
under the statute, that's why.
So services for the city don't fall under infrastructure.
No, not in this case.
Hmm.
Part
Interesting.
does, part does, but not.
IDC
Because otherwise
is not allowed to do infrastructure on a lot of other things too.
You can only
IDC can't do
for a
infrastructure.
Qualified project.
Yeah, you
It's
can't
not a
go put in
qualified
residential streets and
Yeah.
sidewalks and all that good stuff.
project, Not a slush fund.
You can build a park, can't you?
You can build a park.
Yeah, okay.
That's why you
And we,
use
remember
park.
we had on the lake.
If it's part of the park,
Yeah.
then it's ancillary to the.
No, maybe you trade them. Maybe you say, okay, city,
I'll fund this if
we'll
you take that
trade
money.
you this land here for this land here. Something like that. But you can't just go out and buy that
It's
for
gonna
that.
incorporate into another area that we're creating.
Well, the funny thing is, I don't think we disagree, I think maybe we're having this as a us versus council argument going on here. Oh,
Well,
what
we probably
exactly
don't
does-
have an argument with council, we probably just need to have a discussion with council
Yes.
about what we're seeing. The question for them is, how do they create the police fire training that evidently
Right.
they need?
Right.
Can we have two, with one with it with and one
Well, it's
without?
probably gonna have to be more than that.
Well, here's what
Here's
Here's what I would suggest, is I think we just need to have council sit down and have a discussion, and if you come up there and say what you just said, because it all makes sense. And decide,
That's how we need to do it.
do we want to continue doing this with the police fire out there, or do we want to nix that and make it all parks? And I'm not saying make it all sports or anything else, I'm just, whatever it is.
Right.
Because I still disagree that sports complex goes way out there, but if that's what everybody wants, I don't care. But the point is, if it's all parks, let's get it out of the way right now,
Yeah.
and let's have,
Study it that way.
yeah, and not have this version and that version and all this kind of mess.
And
Let's
then start a
just,
fight over that.
let's just go back to council, have a discussion item, say, hey, this is what came up when we were trying to fund this through IDC. IDC feels like this is not a good spot to have police and fire. They're willing to fund the plan, the study for the park space, but they don't wanna mix and match it. And is this something that you are okay with in going and let's try to find somewhere else to do the police fire? And then I think,
Council clarify.
yeah, you know, if they really, really just want that out there, then they'll say, no, we just want it out there and we'll spend the $70,000.
So our table is set.
Yeah, we're
So
table.
if we have.
I think so, yeah.
Because even if it was the option A and B, it's probably gonna be.
We've gotta go back to
Yeah, we'll have a different vote.
Yeah. And at that point, then you can, well, I'm not gonna argue, but whoever can argue about, do you want it to be ball fields, or do you want it to be archery things, or?
Right, that's where the.
That's where you get into
That's
actual
right.
parks design.
Right, and that's why I was saying, I don't,
You would make a comment, you
Yeah,
want me
you know, one of the things, you got a problem with this parkland, you're gonna use it for non-park purpose.
I know, and then you get, yeah.
Well, I thought-
You might have to vote to de-park it.
Well, it already lost the vote to make it a park.
But we never got the,
That was
designation,
bond.
right?
It was never deeded
It was never deeded.
That wasn't deeded, it was deeded as open space.
Nevertheless, we did buy it and always advertise it everywhere. I mean, again, of course.
But we could only fund the study
The
for
study
another
because
place
it's-
that was a park,
Yeah.
even if we're gonna put police
Well,
fire.
you're gonna say, this part will be, this part of this parkland, that you're treating it like parkland, be dedicated for a non-park or non-recreational purpose and be fire and police.
Would you then have to
So
sell
you
that?
segregate it off, well, you might have
Yeah,
to
sell
go
it.
through the deparking process because of the nature of what it is. That's not an industrial piece of land
Right.
north of Lancaster City Hall.
And,
You know, it's last,
You can get around it, but you can't just go buy the land. So I think you can get around it, and you say just like the 2377 property, if council wanted to do it there, and I don't know whether they do or not. But you could say, all right, well, how about you give us 2 acres over here
We get
in the Bear Creek, and we'll give you 2 acres over here on 2377.
So we could exchange parkland over there for land in where IDC owns.
Right.
And maybe council didn't know.
We can do that, we don't have a problem.
Right.
Maybe council didn't know
That's what
how
I'm getting
strongly
at.
you felt on, how this,
Yeah,
And it's honestly just them saying, oh, yeah, we can put this up.
Yeah, and I think that's fine. I think it just is, maybe we need to have
A joint meeting. of some
a
kind.
joint meeting or just
The discussion.
the discussion.
The clarification.
Yeah.
I mean, y'all kind of, I'm sorry,
Because if Casey showed up and I showed up, Ben's already on council, we can have the discussion.
Right.
Y'all aren't talking about it tonight, right?
No.
David, you have any additional comments? Do you want to table this or
No,
not?
it's interesting conversation. No, but I do like the thought of the fire and police activity center or whatever going to another location. I think that's a good move. So,
So what do we
Agreed.
need to do with this?
So we've agreed that we're gonna table this.
Or just take no action.
Take no action and let council give us some guidance.
Yeah, we'll go back to council and see, because, I mean, I don't know that they would do it, but they can say, we don't care what you think, it's our property and we're gonna do what we wanna do.
Right.
And if that's what happens, then whatever.
And that's fine, but I don't
To me, it's
think they,
opportunity lost,
I get it.
you know, do what you can do.
Right. But I think if you go in there and you talk about, let's swap something here and swap something here, and let's save this for that, and if there is an area that is a good place to have all, and it may not be 2377, it may be somewhere else, but you can still go buy some property
There may be.
wherever is a good spot to buy it, and then swap it to them.
There may be some land over there in the 2377 property chunks that we'd look at.
There may be
It
something south
doesn't
of it.
lay out right because of drainages and so forth, that we could cut out a chunk of to do this with.
We already
It wouldn't hurt us.
have a police substation over there, don't we?
Well, that's up on Pierce.
All right.
Anyway, like I said, not trying to make trouble, that's
Yeah,
how I feel about this thing.
You're
We
a
ought to be hanging
troublemaker,
on
you
to
always
it,
have.
not just using it because it's sitting there.
Well, it's good, and then we clarify before we go into this, because this argument will happen one way or the other.
Yeah,
Down the
let's
road
just
now.
talk about it and
Yeah, get it out of the way.
get it out of the way and move in one direction and
Yeah.
get on down the road.
All right.
100% agree.
You're gonna have a bucking
Doing
hammer on the.
planning on the property. I
Feel like
just want to
fucking
see
hell, man.
us put the use of police fire in a different place instead of on that particular spot.
Okay.
At least until, protect that property as long as we can until we see what we can really do, that's all.
All right, we're gonna table it or not do it, no action on golf. G, executive session, we have anything there?
No, I don't think we do we? No.
All right, if there's is there anything else we need to discuss before we close the meeting? If not, I'll wait, hear a motion to close, to terminate.
So moved.
There's a second. Motion made by Casey, second by Allen, all in favor? Aye. Aye.
I.
Aye, all right, 4-0.
The time is 6:22.
6:22.